How can someone know if they're called by God? Great question. And there's several different things you can look for. Number one, you need to make sure you're born again. God calls men who are saved. He starts with salvation before he calls us into service. And there's also has to be some degree of sanctification. As you've been saved, that you're growing in holiness. But I believe it starts with the scripture that says God gives you the desires of your heart when you delight yourself in the Lord. So you start by just pursuing Christ, knowing him, becoming more like him, and then he takes his desires and places them on your heart. So it's not you getting what you want, it's God putting his desires in your heart. So it starts with a desire to be used by God. You don't dictate to God, I want to be a preacher. You just say, God, I want you to use me. So I think it starts with just the pure motive of use me, God, for your glory. You saved me by your grace. You've forgiven my sins. And you're changing my life. I want to be used by you and be your instrument. And then maybe specifically, he'll begin to give you a desire to share the word with others. It may start simple, just a verse or two, maybe a Sunday school class. Mine started as I was in a home Bible study and I was given opportunity to teach. Maybe you go to a rest home, speak to seniors, whatever it might be. And then you do it and you sense God's ability and God's power and you see evidence of fruit from what you've done. Then God begins to call you to the ministry as you begin to be aware of that. So it starts with you desiring to be used, praying for God to use you, and then beginning to share the word and saying, hey, God's using me. And then you have a desire to preach, and then others confirm as well. That's a biggie. I think that if you're called to ministry, others will confirm that for you. Now there'll be some that may want to encourage you because they care about you and you're not really gifted or called. But when you see other people saying, you know what, God's gifted you, or God's called you, or God's using you, we don't see it, but others do. That's a good opportunity. And then just the providential opening a door. God opens a door, gives you an opportunity, step into it, and then God's calling is God's enabling. So if God's called you, he will enable you, and others will be confirmed by that as well.